stop at 11 because of that. But I'm happy, like I'll have my email and information on there, and so if you want follow up, or I was also going to print out some handouts. I'll just forward to you a little work. Actually, do anything to present on?
Oh, there we go.
All right. So I'm going to not focus so much right now on SDRs and BDRs because that's going to be the main part of the second half of this, which is Allbound business development. So just kind of talking through what an actual sales team can be or can look like, what you can call each person. If you later want to talk about how to set up compensation plans, stuff like that. You can divide by territory. You can have an enterprise account exec if you're more enterprise, and then a regular account executive is kind of all encompassing if you're not territory. Your sales engineer, if you have one, or customer success managers will work with onboarding. Kind of they'll start in the onboarding phase. Some will work through the proposal phase depending on what you guys do, and then account management or channel partner managers, those guys are more there to mine your existing database of clients and try to find more opportunities within that. So before we kind of go through the rest of this, I wanted to get a feel of what you guys actually do, where you're at, like how big your sales teams are, because this is like an ideal situation for, you know, a team of maybe 10 to 14 people. But when you're just starting out, often this is like, you know, a CEO and a CTO, and that's it. And you're doing all of it. So just kind of by show of hands, are you less than 5 people total? Okay. So basically, you just kind of divide it and figure out like what, you know, which hat who's wearing and why, and sometimes you're wearing both. There's been a lot of change depending on kind of what you're doing and who you're trying to hit. I tend to find that businesses who are going after enterprise clients, businesses who are going after enterprise clients, a lot of times you'll want to look at having, even if you as you grow your sales team and you grow your company, having one of the partners or founders or senior level people involved in every single pitch or every single deal is actually really good. And the reason for that is funnel is possible. So when you have someone on your team who are going to that, are getting to the point where there's a deal that they're doing. Okay, so let's talk about what's the difference between an SDR and a BDR. SDR is a sales development rep. This is for inbound stuff, mostly round robin, meaning doesn't matter how it comes in, you're just shooting it out to each person. And then they move the leads into the sales funnel and through the process of qualification. Once the lead is qualified, they pass it off to one of the TSMs or account executives. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can kind of bundle them together in pods, and I've seen it work great. Like and it works awesome. So you really just kind of have to figure out what makes sense for your company, who you're trying to hit. And then so they're qualifying the prospects and setting up sales qualified appointments. I actually like when we have SDRs to have the account executives or the territory sales managers do a lot of the research of who to hit if you don't have enough marketing or enough leads out. So having someone else do the research for an SDR, because this is a more automated process, they're just taking what's coming in and qualifying and getting through them. Having somebody else do the research and finding the actual leads is great. There's also the opportunity to have what's called kind of a research analyst, and that's all they do. They just search for targeted leads and then hand them over. And the reason why I like that is because if your job is just to take the incoming stuff and like keep doing that, you can all of a sudden find SDRs who want to spend a lot of time on their research and not so much time actually on the phone. So BDR is targeted outbound. They're generating the calling on who you're actually going after, focus on, and they just got to keep going and keep going. This is like motivated, very detail oriented, and super hot. I think this is better for this. This has to be someone who very well versed in space, business acumen is great, understands what your product is. If there's a hole here, this is where the CEO fills it. If no one's doing this, that's their job. True business development is not going to be a junior level, junior level job in terms of what they're doing. Cold email, cold calling. So, yeah, there's this whole school of thought was it's dead. Well, yeah, okay, it is dead. The better way to go about this is making sure that your research is good enough that you're not actually cold emailing or cold calling. So I still do a lot when I'm looking. If I don't have somebody that I will go and look and say makes relevant sense for me to call them. I'll sit there and set up Google alerts for my top 20, top 100 of companies that I want to talk to or people that I want to talk to. If you're just sitting there I don't know, I'm sure you guys get the same thing. I'll get 7 LinkedIn messages a day of hey, it looks like we'd work together. You're so excited. Your business is so exciting. There's 0 response. I'm I don't mind the cold emails as much because then you can call and be hey, I just wanted to see if you got that email I sent. Or about their business, their whatever, then just do it that way. Networking, so expensive appearances. I'm really good at conferences. It's kind of how I grew in tech because I wasn't technical when I was first starting. So I got really good at actually hunting down people before I went, finding them on social media, sending them emails, begging and pleading for a sponsorship list or for attendee list. If I couldn't get one through our marketing teams, just whatever I could do to see if I could schedule appointments. I would search and see, search on Twitter just to see who else is going, and then I would go on LinkedIn and find them and see if we had there's all sorts of things you can do, but really the follow-up, that's why conferences and networking fail, because people don't actually follow up. So as long as there is a plan and it's already kind of set into action of we're going to have to talk, if you have to talk to somebody 8 to 12 times before you actually get a if them, already have, it can't be fully templated, but already have an idea of how many calls, how many emails, if someone is in a conference, how, if they're met in person, then how many times does it take, what kind of follow-up is required for you to be able to see that. Okay, so SDRs, you can automate the pipeline. So if you're using any of the kind of CRMs out there, that can just be incoming stuff. Again, I don't want them doing too much research. Their job is just to create curiosity. Things they use: social media, email, phone, lead gen software. You cannot automate a pipeline. You can template out the campaign, but you can't actually have it just set to go. On this, you can sit there and schedule it. So after that first phone call, you can set up an email, drip campaign where it just sends an email off every week or every 2 weeks, or and you got to fill that out for your own industry and your own company of what actually makes sense and what's too much. And same thing, social media, email, phone. All right, regardless of the mix, and going back to your territory sales manager stuff, rules of engagement are so important, and this is with regards to when does something get turned over and who owns the lead and how long do they own it. So if you have both SDRs and BDRs, there needs to be a very clear-cut timeline or amount of time that a lead is kind of warm before maybe it gets kicked over to one of the other groups. And then the same thing with the account managers or sales managers, because you can often end up creating really toxic sales environments if you have account managers who are data mining your existing who are mining your existing database of either leads or cold leads that would how long, and it's going to be different for everybody's company, but how long, when do you consider that dead, or when do you consider it it's still in my territory. This is the same when you're getting, especially if your SDRs or BDRs get credit for sale, then that's the other thing. You don't want them, and that's why commission structures is like a whole other talk. You don't want them focused on, is this getting closed? They really should get paid on like how many leads are they, how many qualified leads are they turning over? And it can be like a bonus, a quarterly bonus or something like that, but each individual one should not be tied to if it closes and how much, for that exact reason. They'll spend time doing all the admin work for the TSMs or stuff that they don't really need to be doing or focusing on just to make sure things close. This has to be clear, concise, and constantly reiterated with your team. Like, as you grow, that this is going to change. And we'll talk about like the things that you want to ask yourself as you're going through this to develop your roles of engagement. What's a qualified lead? What happens when it's passed over? What's that exact process? Have that defined. Is there a time limit? A lot of kind of old school sales, and it's still relevant with, I think, I'm sorry, I haven't even had coffee this morning. Ran and picked up my kid. I'm like, short timeline. High transaction stuff. If someone's doing like 100 dials a day versus, okay, we have a targeted kind of large partnerships we're trying to navigate, but this is fine. Band, budget, authority, need, and timeline. That's what an SDR or BDR needs to have in order to pass it over to an account manager to work as a lead. But I find more and more, the more sophisticated or complicated your sales process is, the more this just becomes a hindrance. And also there's a lot of rapport building that needs to happen with the actual salesperson. And sometimes finding this stuff out is like, those are the gateway questions to start building that sort of rapport. And so you know, if you already have all of that and they're just jumping in, it's hard to then not be salesy. If you're trying to do some sort of creative solution selling or something like that. So the more complicated, the more complex your projects or your deals are, the less likely you'll be using something like that. And then CRMs, regardless of which one you use, think about it from the perspective of the person who's using this the most is getting paid commission, right? They get paid a base, and that's pretty much to do stuff like data entry and keep their stuff together and whatever. But they're like racehorses, and racehorses, you can't keep them in the gate. Their job is to run counterclockwise, and that's it. That's a salesperson's job. If you keep them in the gate too long, if you keep them sitting there doing data entry stuff, or you make it complicated, it's just not good for anybody. You won't end up getting any information in your data or in your CRM. So while you need that information, you need it for forecasting, the bigger you get, the more people are going to want reports from your CRM, the more everybody's involved, and then they're going to start saying, well, let's capture this, and let's capture that, and I want to know this, and marketing wants stuff, and then like finance wants stuff, and then tech wants stuff, and all of a sudden you have like 60 custom fields in your Salesforce, and no one's filling out anything. So get what you really, really need, and that's it. Okay, so kind of moving into versus outbound, and any startup is going to need both to do that, and that's going to mean that sometimes as a COO, you might be on the phone dialing for dollars. If you're trying to figure out like what your SDR or BDR is going to be doing, you need to have your, the alignment between your leadership, but also between your messaging is really important. And sometimes the only way to do that is to get really uncomfortable and like get on the phone and do it and just look at it like research, but I would, if you're the CEO, I would get really, really comfortable with the idea that you're going to be doing some sort of business development for the rest of your time as a CEO. That's your job. And whether that's business development for finding funding, whether that's business development for finding clients, that's just something you have to do. And it's like a muscle. You just got to exercise it, and it's really uncomfortable and weird, but it gets there. But like going to the gym once a month, that doesn't work. You get hurt. Like, do it every week. Schedule some time to sit there and get on the phone and see what your Even if you get a giant sales team and you have 300 people in your organization, get on the phone, see what they're actually saying, use the script yourself. You'd be surprised how many times you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure that sounds great. You actually sit and do it and you understand the feedback that you're getting, then you can tweak those to really make sure that your message is aligned. And so how do you get a market message that actually works? The has to do for your company is give your SDRs and BDRs a chance to sound legitimate. Like, that's all it really needs to do. It doesn't have to say what you're doing. It's not your elevator pitch. It just has to establish some sort of credibility for them to take that person to the next, okay, I'll listen to you. So how do you do it? Same way you do anything else. You figure out, I think it's going to sound like this. I think this is what we should say. You test it, you iterate, you repeat. All right, 5 whys. So this is anytime you're developing your scripts or your email or working back towards that alignment, ask them to listen to this Twitter message. Why should they care? Why should they change? Why us? Why your company? And why now? All right. So why listen? These two are the SDR BDR parts, right? Why should they even listen? Why should they take that call? Beforehand, your prospect is crazy busy. After, if it's done right, they're at least curious. That's all you're trying to get to. So you can set an introductory meeting. And then if they're curious, then it's okay, now I'm actually interested. Before it's okay, I'm curious about what you're saying. Now it's okay, I kind of know what you're saying, and I'm interested in at least having a call with the account manager. And then that's when it changes to here. So once we can get to, yes, I'll have a discovery call with you, SDR, BDR sets up a call with the TSM or the AE, and then we go into why change? Why should I change from whatever I'm doing now, whether it's what we're doing internally and hiring someone else to do it, or who we're paying right now and change it to you. Then we move it goes into an actual pipeline opportunity. So this is kind of lead flow, like in your Salesforce. Why you, why your company? And then once they're committed to you, then we can forecast some sort of percentage on whether or not we think this is going to close. A lot of stuff can happen in this space. They can come back and say, oh, well, it was great, we love it. Finance said no. And then your job is to be okay, well, we got to talk to whoever's in finance saying no and figure out where else in the budget, because it's always oh, we don't have budget in marketing for this. It's oh, but this is actually potentially could be an operations expense because we're helping this part too. I mean, that's part of this job. Why now? Of course, that's where you're going to get the win. Because if it's yeah, we love you, everything's great. Yeah, we need to change, but if you can't actually ask for the close and get the close, and not gonna work. All right. So what part of that? Again, we kind of go back to that. The focus on why listen, why care. This all goes back to that messaging and the alignment. So your vision alignment for your actual company and your messaging and how you're talking to your SDRs and BDRs and what you're doing as founders, that's recheck in with this all the time in the beginning. Because you're going to find that even as founders, as you start growing, you'll be going through the motions of all these other things, and there's all this exciting stuff. Constantly recheck back in, because more often than not, when there's a problem in the sales process and you're not getting the sort of responses, a lot of it just has to do with people don't actually know what the next steps are, what the vision of the company is. And that sounds so basic, and you're oh, of course they know. It's written on our wall. It says, don't be evil. But how that translates into sales and how that translates into getting people to listen to your SDRs and BDRs and take that next call so that you can actually write a proposal or send it out. that all goes back to getting that vision alignment along with your messaging, along with your scripts and your emails, and making sure that voice is the same across the board. So defining customer personas, this is a list that I use a lot as an example, may not fit yours. So if you have a technology company and your main thing is working with Salesforce, tying into that as a CRM. So you have your A list. These are the people that are your whales. You land one of these, like, it's amazing. Your bread and butter are the ones that are the SDRs and TSMs are going to be working with mostly. The A list is kind of in between. BDRs, they'll have their list, and occasionally the ones that a TSM or a CTO or someone will bring in. And these are, maybe 1 or 2 a year, depending on how big your company is. These are 80% of this revenue. And then compelling events. So anytime you go through anything, think about it from a point of how can we leverage this for sales. Because you have to be selling. That's what you're doing. So anytime you have new leadership come in, send out a press release to Austin Business Journal, everything. Just sit there and have their names out there. Even if it's like a new BDR who's just or SDR who's coming out of school, like put their name out there, give them a cool title, not like whatever guru, just like give them a decent title, because that helps a lot when other people are looking them up on LinkedIn to be like, oh, maybe I will talk to them. And then like dead ends, these are the ones that you very quickly want to be able to identify and get, close out of your CRM. So if I am running a company that, we have a specific add-on to Salesforce, but that's all we have right now, anybody who's not using Salesforce, I want to know right away and clean it out. And so once you set these out for your own, and this is, I'll send out like a little workbook of like the 5 whys and kind of how to walk through those for your company so that you can create vision alignment. And also this, once you kind of get these, then you can sit there and create your questions for your SDRs within their script as they're walking through it, into being able to answer these fairly quickly. So, kind of going back to everybody has to do BD, and anyone can do it. So we have a company right now, like 150, and we're still constantly, like every month, saying, who do you know that could use our product, like to all of our employees, and give a big, referral bonus, but constantly be pushing. Everybody has a referral bonus, like almost every company has it, but no one actually talks about it. And no one talks about it in a way that people who don't work in sales can present it to people they know. But it's like, if you wanna work with a really awesome company and you have another friend that works there, there's like a UX designer that's like, yeah, I'd love to work for, XYZ creative agency, and agencies are one of your potential clients. Make sure that they know how to talk to their other UX UI friends in that to go up for whatever you do. So creating those kind of like really easy, just question here or there that they can send out that doesn't feel weird, just kind of like, hey, you guys do this, right? Like, is there anybody I can talk to in your company that does that? If it's no, it's no, but a lot of times it's yes. And they can also use this when they're networking, when they're going to their conferences and stuff like that. So that's pretty much like just the general. I live digitally as Live Happy 8. You can find me pretty much anywhere on that with that. So that's pretty much it for just the standard. This is what this is, and I know I went through it real quick, but I'll send you guys all the stuff. I wanted to spend the last bit of time just either doing Q&A, but also like if you have specific questions about, because you're smaller, because you're founders, how this fits for you now, I'm happy to sit and answer those, and I think those are actually more relevant than just like going through kind of like here's this stuff. This stuff is great. You can find it anywhere on the internet. But if I can sit and actually chat with you guys and help you, then that'd be awesome. Yes.
So this week has been a lot of sessions on sales, and there are a couple of thoughts and questions that are coming to mind. One is I'm in the process of trying to navigate how to set referral bonuses, how to get into affiliate marketing, and how to, for my B2B, how to get sales reps from industry professionals that already sell in my space. How do you navigate this? Where do you start? Like, how do you do it? And also determining my pricing for my B2B as well.
Yeah. So pricing would take a lot more to look into than you know, I can answer right now. But I can tell you one of the best companies that's done the best with affiliate and partner is HubSpot. They have a ton of information and case studies on how they did it, and they did a really, really good job of it. They have a ton of partners. I think they get like 60+% of all their sales now are through their partners. So that's something I would look at. And if you have really clean marketing material and sales material that you can co-brand for salespeople, that's the easiest way to get that in, you know, and you have to spend time with them. If you're trying to have other sales forces sell your product, you have to go and like do on-sites and do lunch and learns and be in their office. So pick 1 or 2 or 3 that you can actually do that with, to kind of test how much you need to do that, what kind of material they're actually doing, and go buy them a bunch of breakfast tacos and do a morning stand-up. And then see what they're needing, what kind of objections they're coming up with, whether it's internally, you know, or whatever. But you also have to realize that their main job is to sell their own product or service. So you have to be very careful about making sure that this is really complementary and helps them close their own deals. If it doesn't, and it's just like an add-on, then it's gonna be not only really hard for them to justify selling it, but for management to let you come in to do that. So, and then did you have another one?
Well, all 3, like affiliate marketing, I guess, the sales material that you shared would help, the co-branding material. And
yeah, I love co-branding, marketing, and sales material. Like and I do a lot of partner stuff. So I mean that's great. You know, that makes it really easy. And then eventually, if you can co-brand and co-do like a case study together, that's even better. Anything else? No? It's been a wild ride so far? What? So how many of I know, well, of course I know Janice, and I see vendors, or what is it?
Yeah, you got a vendor.
Vendor, yeah, it is vendor. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. But so who all is doing like B2B tech? Okay, a couple. And then who's doing B2C tech? A couple, okay. And then who's doing anything else besides that? Okay, what are you guys doing?
Business to government, mostly selling to government.
Biz to Gov. That's right. I forget Mass Challenge has that huge Biz to Gov and education part of it too. Well, who else Biz to Gov? Okay, so 2. And then what do you do?
I roast coffee.
Roast coffee.
I have a local coffee roast company, and we specialize in specialty grade coffee through non-traditional channels. So we've kind of started with Office Place, with an office cold brew program, and now we're looking at kind of new frontiers, the vet clinic, the gym, etc.
Interesting. So who does that? Is there like a group, one kind of group that does that now, like Swanson Food Book for coffee in offices, or?
I'd say it's more like the specialty roasters.
Yeah.
And it's pretty local oriented. So I'm sure like Dallas has their market, Houston has theirs.
So you're trying to scale it once you?
I'd like to scale it outside of Austin, inside of Texas, but outside of Austin.
Very cool. What about us? You? Yeah.
Or recycle food waste and turn it into animal feed.
Are you Grubhub?
Yeah.
I love you guys. So I would love to talk to you actually later. I'm working with somebody right now through of like a volunteer thing that I'm mentoring them, and they do, they sell meat, but they have a farm in like Portland, but they sell it by like you have to buy like half a pig or more, like that sort of thing.
That's
but
awesome.
they're doing things totally, different. Like they're setting up an Instagram, and they just have lots of like followers, like who love farm things. But really, at the end of the day, they're like, okay, now we have all these followers, but like we don't know what to do with them. But yeah. Anybody else?
B2B tech, but healthcare.
Okay.
For medical devices.
Sell to a few different types of customers, but one of them that we're most interested in is to advertisers.
Oh, okay. So advertisers who are.
We have smart screens in grocery store checkout aisles.
Got it.
So primarily to vendors.
Oh, we talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, or maybe I talked to one of your partners.
Oh, yes. Somebody said very nice things about you.
Awesome.
Yeah. But that's in particular I was very curious about the outsourced sales force where you can build on people with existing books. And we're trying to feel that out and whether that's worth doing if it's not their primary focus.
Yeah. Again, it kind of going back to the same thing. You have to make it help them close.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or one of two things. You either have to help close the deal, like a significant difference, or it has to be a situation where you're bringing in leads for them. But if you're wanting to use them for leads, which if you're a startup, that's typically what it is.
Right.
Your product has to be relevant enough that people are like, oh, yes. And then the risk there is that a lot of times the company that it's doing will kind of look at this and go, well, we're just going to do this ourselves. This is going to be like an add-on for us. Hopefully they come to you and try to like acquire your technology or white label it or something, but
right.
Yeah, we do. I work with a lot of agencies who are doing creative, and we're in a weird kind of spot for where we get involved in like their pitch, and sometimes it's they're just kind of like, no, you have to use these people regardless, and sometimes we're actually in there pitching side by side. But yeah, it's working with someone else's sales force is interesting. But co-branding, marketing stuff, making it very clear, having a very clear message. That's really where you're gonna benefit from that.
From the referral partnership perspective, do you have any suggestions on how you break that down in terms of the referral fee?
Yes. So the first advice I have on that is make sure that your accounting is very clean and you have a system that can handle doing that automatically. Because if you're sitting there trying to, whatever it is that you decide to do, even like a 15-20%, like if you're trying to do that yourself every time you do that, it can, as you scale, it can become a nightmare. So you have to look at what your margin is on that, and kind of weigh out how much they're actually helping. Bring in, is it also taking into account like an acquisition cost you would have normally had that now you don't have? Is it how much time your salesperson would have spent on it? Are they splitting commission with the salesperson as well on your side? So looking at your margins, looking at the value that they're bringing from the entire not just the sales commission that maybe you're not paying, but the entire marketing commission you may or may not be paying, and then going into what is enough for them to motivate them to do it. And if you're just starting out and it's kind of a new product or a new service, finding a good partner that you can sit down and be like, look, we got to figure this out. Like, what makes sense to you? And let them throw something out. Because, a standard 10 to 17% from an affiliate marketing company for some companies might be great, but there's other companies who aren't going to get more than 2. Because that's what makes sense to both sides. But I think just really having an honest and like authentic conversation with the people that you're trying to work with, if you've gotten to the point where you've built enough rapport, you can have that. That is the best way to figure out partner pricing and whatnot. Yeah.
So to go back to that accounting piece that you say is so important, if you're not in Salesforce and QuickBooks doesn't do it, and you really iffy about just relying on Excel. What are some of the other options?
So QuickBooks actually can do it. So what one do you have?
Just online.
Okay.
Do I need the
You might, yeah, maybe it's, how high would the transactions be of the groups doing this in the beginning?
we started at $190 a month.
Okay, so a lot, that's,
$1,000 a month.
okay. Let me ask somebody who would know that, cause I don't, that's the thing I don't do, but I have, people in multiple companies who have fixed that problem for me, so let me ask them and I will get back to you on that one.
We've done a lot of just Google research and it's just like nothing pops out in the industry.
No, it might be industry specific. We use, at one place right now we're using BillMax. They do it pretty well, but that's different. Are you using a CRM right now?
Yeah, HubSpot.
Oh, HubSpot. And they don't do it?
No.
That's surprising. Yeah, let me ask around. I'll get some more information about your.
Yeah, HubSpot it's not really good at integrating the revenue back in and all the accounting stuff. It's not an ERP.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So
That's probably people should be able to, or there's got to be something out there, and it might not be, easily Googleable, but there's got to be some sort of malware or something we can find a stick of it. We'll find something for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that is a big piece of it. In fact, I recently got like the weirdest sales pitch of someone who was only selling that specifically like for creative agencies working with, and I was like, oh wow, this is like insanely niche thing that you're doing, but because there's so many levels of clients and agencies, because one big agency that's also has like 3 other agencies that are working on that project, they're in their network, and then like the end client, Adidas is actually the one paying the bill, and yeah, we can. There's got to be something. We'll find it.
That's interesting. You think it could be industry specific?
Well, I think it could at least be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me learn more about it. Yeah, we'll figure it out. There's got to be an answer, because there's enough people doing stuff around that, and that sort of kind of partner share splitting sort of thing is so prevalent right now. Like I got to think there's some system built out. So, cool. Anything else? Okay. Yes.
Card. I actually work for a company that's dealing with farms, so I would love to talk to you about the farm.
Oh yeah, I know. This guy's, it's great. Like when they first kind of connected us, I was like, why are they? That's a weird connection. I don't really know anything about farms. And then once they started getting into what he's wanting to do, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I could probably help you. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I do have. Let's see. The question is, do I have a card? If not, you can find me everywhere at Live Happy.
She is in the mentor directory.
Oh yeah. I'm also in the mentor directory. Here you go. This is a work card, but you can have one of those.
Thanks.
So who else from Texas? All right. Awesome. Where are you guys in the program right now? How many weeks?
1 month down.
Huh? What?
We're wrapping up the first month.
Okay.
Scary shit.